Hi, welcome to Tuesdays with Tara. I'm Tara Bundance, and I'm going to talk today about trust. So, last month we focused on codependency, and we really got a little deep about what's our responsibility, what we can let go of, and give space for other people to take responsibility for their own lives and their own experiences and the things that are happening in their lives, and also to pull back on blame a little bit and to get clear about where codependency shows up in our lives. So this month I'm going to focus on trust, and that feels like the next big kind of perfect step to take after recognizing codependency is really getting clear about what and how to trust ourselves, how to trust the universe, how to allow ourselves to trust others and be trusted by others. And with codependency, we're attached to outcomes in so many cases. With trust, we can't be so attached to the outcome. So, what that might look like is letting go of expectations, letting go of thinking that we know what works best for people, and maybe just trusting that the universe has a better plan, has a better sense of what is meant to be happening in every given moment. Trust also helps us live more in the moment, and living in the now allows for healthier relationships, healthier mental state for self, and really healthier connections all around. Living in the moment, trusting the process, being present, all of this is a part of trust. So, if we're looking at trust, of course, we need to start with ourselves. And then we have to look at how we act around others and how others act around us. And then, of course, that's going to branch out more and more out into society and into the world and how our world functions as a greater whole. So, as within, so without. And we've got to really look at how our patterns are being created at the cellular level, at the individual level first. So, what I'm going to talk about today is a lot about how I respond and how I react to the way things are happening in the world today, and also to the way things are happening in myself and in my individual relationships with others. When I'm looking at myself and trust, when I look in the mirror, do I think to myself, that's a trustworthy person? Sometimes I do, sometimes I might not. And I'm going to ask you to think about this as well. I'm really going to put it out there for us to take a good look at our inner workings and what it is that we trust or don't trust in our lives. So, if we don't trust our relationships with others, how is your relationship with yourself? If we don't trust our relationship with society, how is our relationship with ourselves? Am I putting myself down? Am I talking down to myself? Am I telling myself negative things on a regular basis? Am I looking at myself in the mirror and judging myself immediately in a negative way? This leads to lack of trust in myself if I'm doing those things. So, what can I do every day to practice a healthier relationship around trust of myself? I can start looking at the places where I already trust myself. So I'm going to ask you to, again, do the exact same thing. I'm going to ask you to look at how you treat yourself and think about the things that you already trust about how you treat yourself and how you treat others. What do you trust about yourself? This is a big question. What do you trust about yourself? Take a deep breath. Close your eyes, even if you feel like it. And then ask yourself internally, what do I trust about myself? So for me, I can pause for a moment and really dig deep, and I can recognize that I trust my dependability. I'm very dependable. I'm someone that people can turn to when things are not going really, really well. And I can trust that about myself. I can also trust that I know how to take care of myself. So if a health crisis shows up and I am struggling in a situation, I know how to pause, and I know how to take deep breaths, and I know how to ask my inner knowing to lead the way, to guide me, to maybe ask myself questions, to get some clarity on ways that I can support myself. That's something I can trust. So I'm going to go back in. Something else that I can trust about myself is that I know I'm going to follow through on things that I truly say that I'm going to do. And I also know how to say no to things that I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to follow through on. So that's a trustworthy aspect. And that's something that I know I can depend on around myself. I'm very dependable around doing things like Tuesdays with Tara. I'm very dependable on my accountability partner, with my accountability partner, and the time that we spend together and the work that we put in with one another. I'm dependable around that. So when you think about trust, what is it that you can depend on around how you are in the world? Take a moment and really think about that. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about is how we treat others and how we can be trustworthy towards others and learn how to trust others better in the relationships that we choose. When we talked last month about codependency, we looked a lot at the deal breakers and the red flags. When things happen in our lives that pop up and show us, oh, that's a red flag, and we choose to step into that relationship or that situation anyway, that's setting up a lack of trust of self. It's also going to mean that whatever situation or relationship we're getting ourselves into, we probably aren't going to trust it. So thinking about deal breakers, thinking about things that feel uncomfortable to us, that don't feel right, that don't feel like 100% yes. If we do them anyway, we can't trust ourselves. And we probably, again, won't trust the situation or the person that we're stepping into a relationship with or a situation with. So pause as often as possible and check in with, is this a deal breaker? Is this something that is going to create discomfort in my life? If I say yes to this thing, does that feel right? And if the answer is not 100%, then pause, breathe, say no if you have to in the moment, and take some time to yourself and check in with why. That's a way that we can learn to trust our inner knowing, our inner voice, our inner beingness. And trusting that leads to trusting the situations that we create in our lives. Because when we can pause, take a breath, check in with ourselves, make sure that this is the right situation for us, the right experience for us, the right relationship for us, the right job for us, the right partners for us, whatever it is that we are taking the time to really listen, check in, deal breakers, red flags. Do I trust this person? Do I trust myself around this person? And then we can set ourselves up for healthier relationships, healthier connections, healthier believing in ourselves. That's one way that we can set up trusting relationships. Now, how do we trust society as a whole? I mean, that's a tough one. I could get very political. I could get very deep into belief systems, religion, politics, all of those things, but I'm not going to do that because that's not what I do here. What I do is support you in creating healthier relationships with yourself and the world around you. I'm helping you to set up tools. And what we can do is check in with politics, religion, society. Does this feel right? Do these things feel right to us? Does certain things not feel right? And if they don't, then what are you doing to create a different experience for yourself? When we make choices and decisions based on what we've been told to do, based on what we think other people want us to do, and that could be voting, that could be religious choices, that could be anything that we do in our lives that looks like it's going to affect society as a whole. right? If I'm making choices based on things that other people expect me to do or ways that people expect me to be, I can't trust myself, can I? So we need to go deeper into how we are setting ourselves up in life to create more trust in our environment, in our personal experiences, and in ourselves. If I'm not feeling right about the way things are going societally, I'm going to find ways to plug in where I can make a difference. I might not be able to change everything, but I can change small things in my own reality, in my own experience. So that could look like politically voting a certain way. That could look like environmentally making choices that are going to support what I believe needs to change in the environment. The things that we do and the way that we act and the things that we bring into our lives are going to always affect how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our life. If I can't trust myself, I can't trust the universe. I can't trust society. I can't trust my relationships. But if I learn how to trust myself, listen to my inner knowing, listen to what guides me that feels healthy, feels right, feels good, but that I'm not trying to force others to change for me, to change for my joy, for my happiness, my experiences. I can't expect anyone else to change what they're doing if they're doing what they're doing that's best for themselves. But I can change me, and I can take care of me and the environment around me, the experience that I'm creating for myself. So this gets pretty heavy when we talk about trust. How do you feel right now? Just listening to this message, how do you feel about who you trust, how you trust, what your experiences are, and what your relationships are with yourself, with close people in your life, with society, with the planet, with the environment? What is your relationship with any of those things? Is there any place within those connections that you feel a disconnect, that you feel something's not right? That's a place where trust is not going to happen. When we feel a brokenness or a break in our connection with others, that's where lack of trust hops in. And the reason for that is because it's a protection mechanism, right? Where our amygdala, the reptile brain, is going to remind us like, oh, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. And so it's going to try to take us in a different direction, or it's going to try to make us fight, that situation, or it's going to make us freeze and do nothing. And when we fight, flight, or freeze a lot, we're not creating a trustworthy environment within ourselves, within our lives. So do you want to live a trustworthy life, one that you believe in yourself, one that doesn't cause stress, anxiety, worry, depression, all the things that could come up when we are living into a life of not trusting? Trust is essential for us to live a healthy, peaceful, friendly, connected life. Is this something that you want? Is this something that you desire? Look at your partnerships, look at your relationships, look at your job, look at your connection to the environment, look at your connection to your political world, look at your connection to your spiritual or religious world. Is there any lack of trust in those situations? If so, who's the one that has to change? You. You're not going to change all those other things. You're only going to change how you look at, how you deal with, how you experience, how you express, how you live, and how you are in the world. I'm saying this for all of us. If we want to live trustworthy lives, trusting ourselves, trusting others, we have to look within. One of the things that I read recently was out of the Mark Nepo Book of Awakening daily reader. The same thinking that created the problem cannot fix the problem. That's based on an Einstein quote. And so we can't create change by continuing to repeat the same patterns over and over again. So some of the things that I listed here in a list that I created is how to be more aware. How can we change the way that we look at how we trust and who we trust and what we trust in the world? If we feel like we're never good enough, we feel like we're striving for perfection all the time, we're looking to push or strive or force change to happen, those are ways that are showing us that there's a lack of trust. I have to do it alone. I can't ask for help. Suffering alone internally while being surrounded by support or guidance or love or help, comfort, peace, friends, and others. Forgetting to look outside of ourselves. That's a lack of trust. Another thing is can't see the forest for the trees. In other words, we're not looking enough to recognize the support and help that we have around us. So we have to change the health and well-being of how we see ourselves. Expect the best. Look for good things. Have gratitude. Trust that we can actually ask for help. Look for others within our world, within our society, within our individual lives that we can ask for help from. And if we feel like we can't ask for help from the people in our lives, then look at who you're creating into your life that you can't trust them enough to share the important things that are going on in your life. So this is a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to consider around trust. And I know it's not an easy one. So we're going to talk all month about trust. I'm going to give you some exercises. And at the end of the month, I'm going to draw a card specifically focused on how to trust yourself, how to be in trust. And just one more thing I'm going to leave you with today. Consider vulnerability. Being vulnerable allows us to be more open to trusting ourselves, trusting the world, trusting others. Vulnerability means that we are willing to talk about the things that come up for us. We're willing to look and feel into our feelings and emotions, that we're willing to listen more deeply to ourselves and others when we're talking about really important things. Vulnerability leads to trust. And so I'm going to leave you with that. And please join me the rest of this month for more exercises and tools to support trusting your world, trusting others, but most importantly, trusting yourself. Have a blessed and beautiful day and be you out loud.